Welcome, everybody, to the Jill Stott podcast. Our special guest today is Clint Cain, and Clint Cain is a motivator, innovator, and enthusiator. Clint, introduce yourself.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Clint Cain. I'm an engineering leader. I've been doing this for about 20 years. I did little bit about a little bit of everything in IT. The cold server rooms. I've done the front end coding, the back end coding, the architecture services, and product owners love me because we talk a lot. We try to figure out how to get things done. Part time, I do some 3D modeling and printing. I do gardening, and I love to have deep conversations.
Fantastic. Clint and I have known each other how many years? Like 8 years? I don't know when we first
And
met.
right, that's where we were working, and we were doing QA. I think.
I was in QA and we were working on the UI toolkit, and you were a developer. And Clint, I mean, honestly, Clint brought the team together and really got us working collaboratively. Like, you don't even know because this is just Clint. Clint just does this naturally. He's like, hey, let's get on a call together and turn our cameras on because we were
Yeah.
all in different locations. And then, hey, QA, what are you doing? And then I showed him, and then he shows me like, "Hey, we're doing the same thing. Maybe we should work together." Like it was so illuminating, and I feel like we've met in person, but we never have, right? Why do I feel like I've met you in person?
But we've talked a lot, a lot
That's
over
true.
video. Yeah. I just saw that as a work. I didn't realize how
I
impactful.
know. You didn't know how dysfunctional we were before you joined. That's okay.
But we learned a lot from each other, and then, so yeah, we got into the UI toolkit. We did the QA. You were helping QA that, and yes, we had a little bit of this dysfunction. We worked together on that. We got over that hump, and then we dive into how to get even better as far as being
Yeah.
high performing and all of that part.
Yeah, we had people in India and a couple people in Utah and wherever you were living at the time. I don't remember.
That was I was in Arizona actually.
Ah, right.
Um, that was a challenge for me because I always had this thing that you can't really work good remotely. Like this is a before.
Mm.
Like, no, you have to be co-located, and that's so. When I took that job, it was my first remote job, and I was like,
I didn't
"Whoa,
know
I
that.
don't know if this is
Oh.
gonna work, right?" And then I saw a challenge. The challenge was I remember someone saying that we were not working good together because of the culture, and but
Oh.
it didn't specify which culture. And I probably should have asked what
It
it
was Jill's culture. It's my fault.
but but I think it was we had people from India, right? Hyderabad, and I think they were referring to today. Now that bothered me. I was like, no, it's not a country culture thing. It's a team culture thing. And my challenge was let's bring them together.
Mm.
That's where you got pulled in. It's like, hey, if we talk, we see we're all humans, and we'll get over the hump. And that's how I remember it. Did I have that accurate?
That's exactly how I interpret it as well. You brought us all together. Let's talk to each other. You're like just optimized it naturally. Part of it's, well, if you have a problem with so and so, maybe talk to each other or whatever. Tell us some other ideas you have to optimize the work we're doing individually and as teams.
Yeah, I think overall it comes down to like the highest level attitude and focus, right? Those at that level. As you break it down to the team level, it comes down to communication, relationship, and alignment, and all that sit in the clarity book. And if those things is happening over and over and over, then if we have we have a good relationship with the people we're working with, we're effectively communicating with them. We'll find all these opportunities to find alignment, right? And that's the beginning. That's what get us in that frame of mind, that attitude. This is where I need to be. I hear people talk a lot about flow state, and I get it. I call it Zen mode. Right? In order to get into that, you have to kind of believe what you're doing is making an impact. This
Oh,
little thing I'm doing here has to be contributing to a bigger picture
mm,
somewhere. That's always been my thing. In working for multiple jobs, a lot of times I never really got that. Like, what does this affect? You know, like, just
right,
do the job and get out. So I'm
right.
always like, what's the big picture? What's the vision? And so recently, within the last year or so, actually within the last two years, I had to do some soul searching. Like, okay,
Ooh,
let me take a step back. Let me take a step back and try to relearn everything that I think I know. I'll walk around and talk like, yeah, I know everything. I don't know everything. So let me go back to the dictionary. Like, even simple words like commitment. Okay, what does that really mean? I mean,
ah,
it's simple, but what does it mean? So I went back and I was doing some deep studying and reading a ton of books and coming up with, okay, well, I need to have the right attitude and I need to focus. So how do I do that? So I followed the basic company model, which is vision, mission, core values. And I was like, all right, I'll start there. And I
mm,
kept doing it over and over and over. I started thinking to myself, well, if this pattern works for companies, why can't it work for individuals? If I'm responsible and I have to do one-on-ones with my direct reports, then why am I not doing that with the kids?
oh,
Right. So,
right.
so I started down that path, and I was like, okay, I'm going to create a vision and a mission for me, for what I want. What are my core values? Hence, what you see on my profile. But that's the second round of it, because I always think like, what really is me, you know? And in doing that, I started to discover stuff about myself I didn't even know. And then I practice on my kids.
Well, that didn't work. Oh well, we've got two kids.
And when you think about it, a lot of times those visions, those individual vision, is already made for you. Like when you're a kid, what do you want to do when you grow
Oh,
up? I want
true.
to be a doctor. Well, those dreams is already set. Well, how do you become a doctor? Well, I go to school.
Right.
I
And
graduate.
that's the mission or the
And
vision that you're.
that's the mission, right? And it kind of also falls into, so you got a mission, your vision, and then like, okay, how am I going to accomplish my mission? Well, I need strategy. Well, the strategy is already made for you. You go to school, you get good grades,
True.
you get a job, you get kids. It's already set. And for some people, that just works, and for others, they don't. They're struggling, right? And I believe, from my thinking, that it's because we're not dreaming. And even if we were able to kind of get to that point, we ask ourselves, are we fulfilled? Like if you go through the path, like graduate from school, got from college, got a job, thing, got a big house, got kids, all. Are you fulfilled? Is usually the next question. And the answer to that, to me, is you're not dreaming. You got to dream. If the company is going to dream and put an inspiring vision,
Well, that's true.
then you, for yourself, how are you going to come up with a dream and make sure that every mission and strategy and all your core values is in alignment? That gives you the attitude. And the most important part of that for me is, how do you stay on it? Well, you got to build good habits. And the number one habit you should build is reflecting. And a lot of times we don't reflect. We go, 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 go. This task done, next to the next task. We don't transition it. And that includes me. And so that's what I started. So I could write it down and study it and put it in formats. And then I decided to try it on the kids. So I sit them down and I said, what is your dream? What do you want to dream? What do you want to do? I don't want to say it like, what do you want to do when you grow up? Just like,
Right,
what
right,
do you
right.
do? Like when you on your own, what do you want to do? What's your dream? And as we talk through it, and then it was like, okay, well, what's that one big task, that mission that you want to accomplish? Let's work on that. So we started to do that, and we sit down and like, well, pick your core values, and then when we start to we made like like guiding rules and policies, and we put it in this document, and then we put a reminder date. We say, okay, this is what this is what you're going to do to make sure you're working every day towards the dream. And
So
that
has
could be
that been sustainable, or is it? I could see myself doing that once and then putting it away and forgetting all about it.
yeah, yeah. No, but that's the last piece you said is the most important part. When you're doing it, you're excited, right? You're in the moment, right?
Right,
And when
right.
you take it and you put it down, there's one other task that you forget to do. You forget to set a date to remind you to look at it because when you get tired and you're frustrated again and you look at it again, you're gonna be like, oh, all right, let's go. But if you never put a reminder date on it, you'll you'll never remember and you'll lose your motivation. We have smartphones and all these things that can help us do that today, but that doesn't work for everyone. I literally have a painted wall, a whiteboard on my wall that we write on,
It's
and it's
right there all the time.
from the doctor.
I
So,
love that. Oh, sorry to interrupt.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like all these things, you're like we got to have a date and have time boxes. I teach people that all the time, but I've never thought about just using it to better my own life. And
Yeah,
that's I love that there's so much intersection between that.
yeah. In thinking about it, it made me feel like when we go out and work for others, whether it be the job or you're trying to help others rise, it's always good that you help yourself. Like at least you know where you stand. Because when things get tough and really bad, you need something to reflect on to give you that self motivation. We use it all the time. Self motivation. But what is
Right.
it? This was
What does
this
that mean?
right. This is part of my relearning. Like, what is self motivation? What is focus? Right. And this is it. I don't know. Um, People ask the question, what is the meaning of life, right? And no one has the answer, but the answer is probably right in the question. What is the meaning of life? Your life is meaning, and your life is meaning if you have purpose, and purpose really comes with actions. We're humans, and we like to be actionable. Yes, you're gonna sit down and be lazy and bored, which is a good thing, by the way. But when you get over that hump, you need something to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if you have a plan, this is what I tell my moms all the time. Do you have a plan? If you have a plan, you can always come back to the plan. If you're tracking your plan, you can come back and see your progress, and then it kind of keeps you going. Now, I'm just kind of talking randomly, so I didn't put it in order for you. It's like a whole framework I have in my head. I'm
Oh, I
teaching
love it. The
kids.
Clint framework for life.
And I put it in a format to allow me to reflect on the kids and my wife and all of us. And then I was like, okay, well, what part of this can work at work? And I take the same pattern. Okay, well, put on your work hat. What's your dream? What's your purpose of doing this job? Why are you doing it? The book Simon Sinek books, to Start with Why. I really love it. I read it a couple of times, and that was one that really stuck with me. Out of all of this stuff I'm talking about, it doesn't work if you don't have a good why. Why doesn't inspire you? So I always go back to that. What's the why? Start with why.
So
Why
what if it's because I need to pay my bills?
that?
If this is working with them, different your teams, for example.
I'm sorry. Say again.
Like if you're working with your teams and you ask them that question, it's like, well, I'm here to get money.
Yeah, well, then now we need to have a deeper conversation. Money is just a byproduct of what you're working towards, right? You need money to get there. Like we all need it. That's the currency, right? Um, if you focus on only money, you'll get the money, and then you will not be fulfilled because that's not your purpose,
True, true,
right?
true.
So if you say, hey, it is to pay my bills, okay, now we need to go deeper, right? Because we all, as kids, we dreamt, and then one day it's like, oh no, you just got to do this. You got to take this job. You got to shut up.
Well, that's how I was raised. Like it doesn't matter if you like it. You're
Yeah,
not supposed to like it.
but if you ask everyone and kind of get them in, look, when I tried this on, for me, I was self motivated. When I tried it on the kids, they didn't have answers. When I said dream, we wanted to dream. We wanted answers. So I kept bugging them, and then eventually they said one thing, and then I leaned in on that. So for example, one of my kids is she wants to dance, but she saw dancing as one of those things that you can't do for a living, but it's still fun. So when I asked you a dream, she didn't say anything about that. She more so related it back to school stuff and work life stuff. I was like, no, let's focus on the dancing part because there is people out there that is dancing for a living, and you can do it. Okay, so now you want to be a dancer. So what's next? What is the this big task that you have to tackle for the next 3 to 5 to 10 years that you have to continue to work on, right? And we made it. She's like, okay, well, I need to practice every day. I need to learn new choreograph routines. I'm like, okay, good. Now, what is going to get you to stay there, right? What is going to get you to keep doing it? Well, we got to come up with a strategy. Let's work on a strategy together. In order for us to stay on the strategy, we need guardrails and guidelines, right? So let's create ourselves a couple of rules, very short, to allow us to remember things such as make sure you learn a new dance every month. Make sure you watch dance videos. So we wrote those down, and those are the things we actually put on the wall. And that's pretty much the plan. But there's things that you still need to focus on, so it doesn't mess with you, it doesn't distract you, right? Because you will be distracted. So then we focus on some other principles that I have. Something I call purposeful distraction.
What purposeful?
Purposeful distraction. So a lot of
Purposeful.
time
That's hard to
distraction,
say. Okay.
it's bad, right?
Right.
Distractions is bad. But if it's purposeful, then and you're doing it on purpose, then you're giving yourself a break and an opportunity to regain some energy. You're giving yourself an opportunity to reflect on what you've done so far, so you can move to the next step. So what are the things that you're gonna do to distract yourself on purpose? Well, I don't play video games, she says. I was like, no, perfect. That doesn't has nothing to do with dancing at all. Perfect. You're distracting yourself from your mission on purpose so that you can regain some energy and you don't burn yourself out.
So I think this really circles back to your term focus. And we
Yes.
think I have to like spend all my time doing this, but now you're saying, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You also have to have these purposeful distractions. The tongue twister.
Purposeful distraction. Yeah.
Purposeful.
It's I feel like the purposeful distraction needs to be not related to your dream or your
Something totally different.
totally opposite. To give your mind a break from it, right? And I've been trying it. It seems to work, but sometimes I don't want to just do the same thing. Sometimes I will go play video games with the kids, or I'll go running. It's just something totally opposite of what I'm working on, just to kind of clear my mind. Because when I sit down and really start to focus again, then boom, I want to be clear. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then,
absolutely. Well, and like it's like I'm in deep and I'm doing this stuff. Like this is so great, and there's a point where I'm just like, there's a squirrel there,
yes,
or whatever, and I try to force myself, but it's almost like your brain runs out of battery and it needs to
yeah,
recharge something completely different.
that might be a clue that you do need to stop with what you're doing and take a break.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm just wasting time, but it looks like I'm busy, right?
But I had this thing. I used to stay up late in code, and part of me staying up late in code is because I had a problem. I can't go to bed until I figure it out. And
Mm.
three in the morning, I
So,
still haven't figured it out, and I go to bed. But I've already drained myself, right? And then I wake up at like 7 a.m. I'm like, I got the answer. 'Cause I
right.
got the answer.
Why didn't I go to bed earlier? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true. I've had that happen. Like, oh.
yeah. So this. So purposeful distraction was just like one thing I thought about to try to help to keep focus.
Hmm.
Another thing is how you transition. How you transition.
Oh, help me. I really, really struggle with that.
Yeah,
So sometimes I'm in this, I'm just going to stare at the computer for 12 million hours because I
yeah.
don't know what else to do next. And I start to get anxiety. Is that normal? Well, I
It's
know I'm
totally normal. Like, it's totally normal for
really.
me too. Yeah, and the kids, right? So
Oh,
so this is what I told them. I say you can transition in 3 steps. The first step, this is what I call it. It's just my words to make me remember it, right?
okay.
I say you have to log off from the last task, right? And log off, it entails reflection. It entails you saying, okay, I did good. Okay, I did bad day. Okay, I can do better next time on that one. Just kind of closing it off, like closing off that task.
Like a mini retrospective.
Yeah, just mentally, like,
Oh,
and but you're human, right? So now you're gonna go into the second phase, which I call crossfade. And crossfade is, yes, you already logged off, but not really, because you can still
yeah, it's still in there.
it's still in there. But
Yeah.
the crossfade part means now you're trying to focus on the next thing that you want to do. It could be several things, right? And the problem is when we try to pick the next thing and there's several things, we get anxiety. I get anxiety. I'm like, I don't know what to do next, right?
Right.
So that's that second phase is for you to really pick something. And as you try to pick something, the old stuff is still gonna, lag in
Mm-hmm.
a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. But now you pick something. Now you're starting to focus on that next thing, right? And then the last phase is logging on. I am going to do this next task. I'm going to log on and do this next task. Once you get to that commitment, I'm not saying that you're going to forget everything that you logged off, but that's now minimized, because now you're focusing on something else, right? Um, I've tried it, and I realized it's really hard, because if I have a long time, like let's say 30 minutes, maybe I can take 10 here for my log off, 10 here for my crossfade. So what I've been trying to master is, how can I do this fast? How can I do 5 5 5?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
even moving faster, 1 minute. How can I do that? And it's hard. Like if for the easiest things, it would be easier. But for more complex things,
Mm-hmm.
especially something that you were in Zen mode for, or sorry, flow state, like you were in flow state, and now you
Uh-huh.
want to get out, and you're like, oh, but I have to get this out. Then it's
Right.
gonna
Right.
be hard, you know. Um, but it gives me something to work on. Again, another purposeful distraction that's actually related to what we're working on.
Interesting. So I teach Kanban and coach a lot of Kanban concepts, and one of it is context switching. Right. If I'm jumping back and forth continually, I'm going to lose a minimum of 20% productivity.
Mm.
But on the opposite side of that, if you're like what you just said, if you at a certain point you have to context switch,
Yeah.
but do it intelligently with a plan. I never even thought of that, to be honest. I was just thinking about don't do it. But at some point we can't do it 24 hours a day. And then when I wake up in the morning, I get on the computer, I'm in, because I've had that mental transition, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. That's the best time, right? Listen to a lot of podcasts. The John Maxwell podcast. John Maxwell says um, he gets up at 5 a.m. and that's when he do the best thinking. And that's the stuck with me. But I don't get up early. So it's like, okay, I need to find a moment where I can say, okay, during this period, it's just me. I'm going to focus on this one thing, because I think a lot of the tasks, just this task we do in period, especially when we start to talk about habits, it's hard,
Yeah.
and you have to kind of train yourself over and over. I read the book Atomic Habits. That one was really, really, really good.
I read the intro to it, so I kind of get it.
Yeah.
I don't want to buy another book I don't read.
No, it's when it comes to habits, I think this is the biggest thing. It has to be sustainable, right?
Yeah.
And you have to start with an easy mindset. You can't just go in and say like your ability, but even though you know your ability, I still think it's good to start easy, right? Pick something easy, like if you're gonna dread it, then it's
Right.
what you
You'll
think
put
is
it
gonna
off
happen.
and put it off. That's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So two things I use there. One is the easy mindset, right? Like, is this an easy thing? Am I dreading it? How long is it gonna take?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I ask myself, and if I'm still feeling anxiety, what can I cut off? Maybe I can just do it for 3 minutes. Like I can full close for 3 minutes because I really want to do
Right, break
it.
it
you
into
know,
little small chunks. I love it.
you see exactly.
Ah, you know what I'm doing.
And then the last part is and this is I think the kicker here is, how can you find the good in this thing that you're thinking is bad.
Back to your original thing. What's the meaning or motivation or the greater
Yeah,
purpose? to folding clothes.
Exactly, exactly. But there's one more piece. There's one more
Okay.
piece. I'm gonna talk about this piece. This is, I think sometimes you have to protect yourself from yourself because naturally you're gonna have anxiety. You're gonna have fears. Like you're human. You can't avoid it. The more you're focused, the less that is a factor. But the thing is, when that does creep into your psyche a little bit, what do you do? Well, some people's like, well, I'll just go work out. Well, great. Well, now you have something, and I think everyone should have something, right? We talk about the purpose for this distraction, and this is
Okay.
like that, but this one is a little bit different because it's focusing on you protecting yourself from the things that make you think negative. So,
Uh,
so that's a little bit more specific,
yes.
right? Like, I don't want to do this. Oh, this podcast is gonna be scary. What can I
You're
do?
like, I don't know how to do this. Oh, I'm gonna be fired and da 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 da.
Exactly, exactly.
I guess I'll go eat some chocolate cake.
Right, right. So I took all of that, which is a lot, and I put it together and I wrote it down, and then I put a reminder on it. I use Notion, the note taking app, and I put a reminder on it. So every time the reminder pops up for the kids or for mine, we sit down and then we review it. And you can see them getting excited again, right? Because there was this gap. I think the last time we did it was about three months from the first time, and the first time they had that momentum for the first month, and then school,
Oh,
and
right.
then they're also working, and then work, and then their friends, and then their games, and then they just kind of forgot.
Right.
But even though they forgot, they still always kept a couple of that, and that's important.
Right.
If you're at least working on one piece
That's
of it,
true.
that's the key. And when you reflect, right, when you sit down and you actually reflect on it, like, this is me. This is my identity is I am an enthusiast. That's it. I need to remember that sometimes, because sometimes it's the whirlwind and noise of stuff it messes with you, and you have that moment to sit down.
Yeah, to refocus, recenter, like, hello, I'm not going to live forever. What do I really want to achieve? Yes, I love it.
So I think, so I'm putting words to it, but it's really take the big task, break it down into
Yeah,
small
it
steps.
is.
Take your reminders and do shorter reminders instead of waiting for longer periods, but still have your longer periods as well. It's essentially
And then tying it all back to the primary objective. Oh my goodness. It works for software development, it works for life in general. It does.
absolutely.
Dude, there's a
So
book here, you know that, right?
what's the name of the book?
No, you're going to write a book
Uh,
about this stuff I've been teaching for years and years and years and how it applies to your personal life. Think.
my wife said that. I don't know. I don't know if I'm a book person.
Oh, I just you can do it, and then you have to put me in. I guess you can do in the end, like who to thank, because you should have your family the first one, like dedicated to. I don't deserve
Well,
that.
you're in it. I got
Dedicated to my family and this weirdo named Jill. So I love this. Just really it makes me excited. So this is fantastic. And when we met a couple of weeks ago, you mentioned you're always looking for different tools or techniques, just like you did now, in order to help you meet your goals faster. What are some other tools that you have in addition to these practices and these habits that you introduced us to?
Yeah. A lot of the if I go back to where I said I was trying to relearn it,
Mm,
it's when I realized that a lot of the things around us today, it's not new, right? A
true.
lot of the challenges and how to accomplish this, people have been challenging and trying to. They've been challenged for years, and they've been trying to do it and figure it out for years. They've been trying to figure out what's the meaning of life for years,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of these patterns is just some of them is just rephrased, you
Yes.
know, and
Yes.
our methodologies. Okay, well,
I know, like I trace it back. Like Aristotle said that. Like, like okay.
exactly. You know, so you're like, okay, well, man, I thought I knew anything. So much more. So then I get hungry and I start learning and learning and learning. And of course, ChatGPT came out, and I'm like, well, there's no need to write a book. Anyone can just go to ChatGPT and say, okay, well, how do I get more organized? How do I uh, uh, manage my time better? how do I manage this project? And I was amazed at the answer. Like when I first started using it, I was like, okay, I'm gonna talk to it like a human, but a really dumb human, because I'm trying to be as clear as possible. Then I realized over time I didn't need to do that at all, and that's what really captured my attention, right? So a lot of these things I talked to you about, the purposeful distractions and how to transition and
Mm.
how to stay focused in Zen mode. Well, I sat down with ChatGPT
Oh,
and did a deep dive. Like I already know how I feel. Like it's some research
right,
there.
right. So sources out
Now it's
there.
like,
Hmm.
let me see what you know. And even in doing that, it it even gave me some more book recommendations. I'm like, oh. So and I go get the book and I read the book and I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about. And then I go down rabbit holes. Like one of the books is uh, Outliers.
I read that a
And
long time ago, I think. I think.
that one is interesting because it talks a lot about luck. And I go down
Yes.
the rabbit hole about luck. And let's say, how can you
And so on and
know,
so on.
until ChatGPT says I'll take my limit.
So I think I've used ChatGPT a little bit. I think it's pretty cool. So what do you, for you, the advantage of using that tool versus a bunch of Google searches to do the same
Yeah,
thing?
yeah. Um, when I get in my deep thinking mode before ChatGPT, I was doing all of this. The time that I spent researching was a lot.
Hmm.
And the pattern went something like, oh, I got an idea. Let me put it in Google. Oh, I got a bunch of results. Do I do the first page, the second page? Let me open up 12 tabs. And let me look at all these. Oh, this one has too many ads. All right, let me read this one. This one sounds very opinionated. All right, let me read the next one. Very opinionated. Of course, are they right? I don't know. And then you start to get some ideas from just logic, right? Educational guesses and stuff. And then finally, I land like, oh, I learned something, and then I land on what I'm looking for as far as the answer is concerned. That's like, I don't know, a week.
Right.
For
Oh
that,
yeah.
for that I was researching because I'm cross referencing. I'm looking at YouTube videos and reading articles, and sometimes articles take a while. Sometimes these articles reference other books. I want to go look at the book's summary to kind of analyze it deeper. And then I realized once I started to use ChatGPT, that week long research was like one day.
Oh really? It just condensed it down.
Yeah. Um, the, the way it works is like the way that I understand it anyway. Um, in data science, they use this model. It's like a black box. You give it input, it gives it output, but it has to be trained on data, right? And it's been trained on a massive amount of data, even the content of a lot of books, right?
Mm, right. 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 Right.
There's this book that sounded really cool to me. I was like, but I didn't want to buy it. So I asked ChatGPT, give me a book summary
Oh,
of
that's a great idea.
and it gave me a list. I was like, whoa. Of course, people is using it for you know small coding tasks,
Uh-huh.
right? So there's this coding task. There's write my blog, write my email, and there's always the thing about it's not 100%. I don't think it should be. I am glad that it's actually an assistant because I'm getting old. I'm learning. I can remember everything. But this stuff, it retains it all. And not only that, I'm using ChatGPT 4 now, and I can ask it in depth questions. I can say, what is a podcast? And like, podcast. I was like, well, what? How can I do a podcast in like a third world country? For example,
Oh,
that
to
don't
like
have
get
the
down and down into detail.
yeah, like keep going. But I don't always have internet. I have family in the Caribbean now, and they're living in areas where they have to they don't get
Right,
Wi-Fi.
right.
It's working. So if someone was in that living
Huh.
scenario, how how can they start a podcast? And it will give me all these different options, and then I'll tell it the challenges. It'll give me more options. And is this back and forth? And I think what it was originally intended for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's used for like a number of different things. But that's how I use it.
Interesting. I think I might be using it wrong because I'm still in the mind where I go to the little Google thing and I type in, tell me this. You know, that thing how you're like, okay, cool. If you're talking to a person, like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this?
Yeah, yeah. I still find myself doing that. Then I got slapped myself. You got this. You go and use this. Even for some of my spelling correct and my sentences is not grammatically correct. Could you fix that for me? All right, thank you. Oh, you use words I didn't think I was gonna use. This sounds awesome.
I'm so smart. So
How
how
do you?
do you tell to do that? Like I tried to do that after we talked about that. I'm like, make this better, and then I pasted it in my thing.
Yeah.
It didn't work for me.
What?
Well, I didn't just reword it. It didn't make any sense. I
So
think it's gone downhill after their new change, but maybe that's just me
I hope not.
or Reddit.
That's gonna mess me up.
We use it more than I do, so you would know.
So I would ask it a question. Well,
Hmm.
in fact, let's use it the other way. I would write a paragraph in my words, and I'll try to make it as good as possible. Now, and I'll say, okay, rephrase this and correct my grammar and punctuation. It'll give me something very close to what I wrote, and I'm like, oh, make it sound happy. It sounds too pompous.
You can do that?
Yes,
What? Oh, like the tone?
yes,
I
and then
did
it
not know
changes it.
that.
And then it gives me a longer paragraph. It's like, I don't like that. Make it shorter. And I just make it shorter.
Oh.
And then sometimes I'll say this: make it shorter, but keep the same tone, the same vibe
Hmm.
that's in it, and it'll take out all the fluff words, and boom, you have a nice state. So if you ever want to create a dream or a vision, put it in your words. You don't even have to write it as a paragraph. You can literally just put bullet points. Like, I want it to be inspiring, and it has to be related to podcasts and agile. Make it. And then from there you could just until it changes the tone or make it sound better, make it sound more professional or less professional, and it does it.
It's like an editor, like you said, it's like an assistant. It's like an editor. It's like the colleague next to, hey, Bob, what do you think of this?
Exactly.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I love it. I love it. It helps me a lot. At first, I used it for this thing, to put for him to kind of like validate a lot of things because
Hmm.
it's like this feels very common sense. Like we should all know this. We should all do this. Like why we're not doing it? And the reality is we humans we get distracted, right?
Right. Because you're a human being.
Right. So how do you stay focused and keep on that level and using chit chat GPT to always like every time I ask like you a good one. This has been recent. I have a 3D printer and I haven't been using it as much. So recently I was like I want to print something and I totally forgot everything that I did.
Yeah,
So I
I've
was
been
like,
there.
tell me the settings you should have for the printer, and it gave me all the settings. And now a 3D printer person is going to be like, well, it was close. It was about 80, 90%.
Right, right.
At that point, I don't know, right? So to me, it is 100%. So I take the instructions, I follow it, and it starts to work. And then one thing doesn't work, so I go back and like, this step here, step 3 it has to be wrong because it's not working. It's like it says, I'm sorry, so sorry for the to miss the misstep. The correct answer is, and I'm like, oh, and it is the correct answer
Oh,
for step 3. So if it was 80 or 90%, my follow up questions is actually filling the rest of it.
and then it goes and does another whatever search or whatever.
Yeah, that
Interesting.
that is powerful. Of course, there's fears with this. Right? I don't
With
know.
what?
From the with ChatGPT, I'm from the old school. Terminator and Matrix.
Right. There's so much fear and people trying to say, whoa, stop. It's going to end humanity. I mean, have you read the articles, that one guy? This is what will be the end of humanity. I'm like, maybe, but maybe something else will.
Well, I think because we have people like him, that won't happen, right? Because people
Oh,
like
that are
him,
just
because that's
on the
the opposite,
fence.
right? It's like the yin and the yang. You always got
That's true.
not.
That's true. You need both sides. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So once he's thinking like that, I'm sure there's so many other people that's thinking it's the same, and then others who just want to. Well, I want to see AI come to life. I'm like, well, you gotta be.
Well, it's like the holodeck. Or
Yeah,
true. That's true. You're right, and that's the discussion any brand new disruptive technology has, right? The internet, like, what? Internet? It's going to ruin all of us. It's the end of the world.
Oh yeah,
Um,
it's so good now. I saw an article the other day that it's writing code, like good code that can run. So even in my industry, a lot of engineers is fearing that this is going to replace them. Um, I don't know. I think it might replace some. Those who's already copying and pasting code might replace them.
like me, like I did.
Anyway, but for the people who really sitting down and trying to use their smarts to take bits and pieces of all their knowledge to create something brand new, that will always exist, even if it
That's
includes
true.
AI.
Right. And they could do their stuff even faster, and they could start thinking about the bigger. Yeah, you'd have like all these assistants working for you.
What amazed me now, and I haven't done this, I just saw the article, so I'm using the text based, but there's a lot of apps in the app store that's being built on top of it. And some of these apps is creating images and
Oh,
videos.
I've seen those. Those are funny.
Wow,
I
yeah,
know.
it's good. It's really good, right? I'm tempted, but I don't know. I think I fear it getting a little out of hand as well. So I don't want to go and do the picture thing, and then I have to pay down, and I got to go do the video thing, and I got to pay down, and then, like there's still that fear of your personal information just being
That's true.
thrown
That's
all
true.
over the out. Like a couple of months back, there was this thing called Lensa, I think it's called. What you do is you take a bunch of your photos and you add it to this app, and the app
Oh.
recreates your imagery, your likeness as like superheroes or
Oh, okay.
steampunk or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
but then I'm like, well, where are they going with those images?
Exactly. That'll come back to you. That's like, don't put it on the internet. Right? Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. I mean, a couple other concerns I've heard as far as that goes. One, well, it's not going to give you 100% accurate information. And I'm like, neither does the internet.
Yeah,
So that argument, I'm like, duh.
exactly.
I mean, that's you can go to the internet and then you're all distracted by these pictures that are lying to you. Buy this and it will increase your lifespan by 20 years, like whatever.
Right. That's the question I always ask. Like, why do you want it to be 100%?
And
Like,
what does that even mean? 100%. And who's going to check it? Against what? The internet? That's not going to work.
it's giving you answers that already exist, right? It just has all the information in one place, and that's great, right? For it can allow us to do a lot of things. I was having a conversation the other day that businesses is behind ChatGPT. Businesses like well Google already have one. Bard, right? Then there's Amazon, Facebook, and all these other places, right? And they are working on their own AI. Obviously, we know that, but there's also
Everyone's trying to get back into AI.
right, and we know there's a bunch of small startups that's working on it as well. We do know that all that is true, but what I heard is there's a lot of businesses that want to use AI to mislead or lead or to get more insights into humans, right?
Oh, yeah. Duh.
I'm a human and I'm using it too. So it almost feels like at the end of the day, when companies start using it and the humans start using it, it is going to start to talk to each other.
Right.
Right? Because it's like, hey, I got this email. Can you check see if it's a spam? Okay, I'll go check see.
Oh, I never thought of that. Fuck.
I'll do like that's what I would do as just an individual, right? Like
Right.
something weird, I'll go research it. I'm like, this looked like somebody hacked into my stuff, but I don't know, right? I'm going to do that research, and if I can do that research by just asking an AI, and on the flip side, a business could improve their marketing by asking an AI, it will work, right? But then I question. I think AI, human, okay, you win, right? But AI, we might just be right back where we are right now.
Right. We're not learning anything new, essentially. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was the same old thing.
My AI says, "Oh, that's definitely spam."
Right.
Some people's like, "Well, thank you, yeah."
Interesting.
you know. So I don't know. It's an interesting it's an interesting topic, and I originally did not want to sign up or use the thing at all. I was very against it. Now I'm like, I can see how I can use this not to do my work, but to assist me, in my shortcomings, and it helps. Also to validate things, like
Yeah.
how do I do a podcast? This software you're using is pretty cool. I'm gonna have to go ask
Well,
ChatGPT about it.
well, when I first opened it, like I didn't know anything about it, so I opened it up. I'm on the free account still. I'm like, where's the pictures? You know, like I'm used to the searches. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of disappointed. It's just text. It's like DOS. Like I'm back in DOS days. And then I realized it's so much more focused, and less distracting.
Yeah,
But just going back, see, it's a theme here. Clint, we have a theme.
the
Oh,
thing,
buy these new underwear. Click, Jill's clicking here. Like, what was I even doing? I don't know. So I hope it doesn't change as far as that goes. It just keeps it condensed to just text.
well, I think the core of it may potentially stay, but everyone that's building on top of it,
That's true. You're right. You're right.
I think we might run into the same deal. But again,
That's not a bad thing necessarily. But yeah, you're right.
but it's not just so ChatGPT is open AI, and it's not just open AI that is doing you know uh, intelligent chat and models. As I said, Google is doing theirs, and is Bard. These are the top two most popular right now.
Mm-hmm.
If OpenAI is open software that you can build upon, then there's going to be more people building upon it over
Right.
and
Right.
over. If a model is something that you have to train and give it more information, and then it can use some cognitive abilities to take the language model and give you back good answers. If that's true, then anybody can do it, and you could do it too, right? And probably not now. It's not easy,
No.
right? But
Uh huh.
in time, you'll be like, you know what? I want a Chat GPT model that only focuses on the things that I do, like your
All
second
right.
brain.
That sounds like a logical evolution. I never thought of that. That's how it's all built.
And you
Yeah.
watch it's a Star Trek. Star Trek. Yeah, Star Trek. And they ask the ship like, "Hey, what's going on? Can you take this and analyze it? And what's who's close to me? How can I approach?
Ah,
Like we see that, right? We see him talking to the computer.
right. 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 Right.
Like it's just an assistant to kind of help us, and I think that's part of the motivation behind it. But there's going to be some smart minds that take it down a
Yeah.
different rabbit hole.
Inevitably. Right. Yeah. 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 I mean, that's human nature for you.
Then you're going to need security GPT.
Right. See, there's always another kind of job that will pop up after this. That right? I never thought QA was a job when I was growing up. Like it didn't really exist. So yeah, that's how it is. Technology, new jobs are invented.
So you said you are using it, and you're
Hmm.
using it for the podcast stuff, and also Agile.
And just my job in general. Like if I have to write an article, I'll just get a stub because sometimes I just get starting is hard for me to get started. So get a stub like, okay, I'll take that and now I'll reword it. Yes,
Yeah,
it is a time saver. Oh, a resume,
yeah,
dude, it helped me build a resume with those. What are those called? The little links that the bots look for.
yeah.
What are those called? Tags? I don't know.
Oh yeah, the hashtags. Okay,
Yeah, or whatever to see if I can just get through the I don't know if it's an AI thing to see if she's even qualified to talk to somebody, and that really helped too because I
yeah.
kept experimenting, I couldn't get it right. So yeah, things like that is amazing.
Yeah. It can also parse stuff too, right? So like a resume, like give me the top three keywords from this resume or from this article or whatever. It can do some
See,
stuff.
I need to. I have just barely scratched the surface. Beep. I need to try it more. I need to work in it more. Absolutely.
So
Seriously, we could talk for another hour.
absolutely.
So, Clint Cain, any last words you would like to share with our millions of viewers?
Millions of views.
Billions.
Billions,
So
billions,
someday,
billions,
someday,
so many billions. The one thing I'm gonna say is reflect and reflect on. I think that's what's
reflect.
missing.
Words of wisdom from my buddy Clint Cain. Thank you so much for joining me.